Welcome. In this tutorial, we're diving deep into JSON serialization in C# using System.Text.Json. We'll explore various options that allow you to serialize and deserialize objects, customize the output format, and handle advanced cases like null values, property naming, and circular references. Our example will focus on a product class, and we'll walk through how to manage JSON formatting efficiently. First, let's look at basic serialization. In C#, the JSON serializer.serialize method converts objects into JSON strings. For our product class, we create a list of product objects and serialize it without any special options. The default output is a compact JSON string where each property of the object is represented as a key-value pair. The resulting JSON includes all properties, but the format is a single-line string, which is efficient but not human-readable. If you want a more readable format, you can enable the write-indented option. This adds line breaks and indentation to make the JSON easier to read. You'd use this feature when logging or debugging serialized data. Now, each property and value appear on a new line with proper indentation, which makes it ideal for human consumption. Often, when serializing objects, you don't want to include properties with null values. In our product list, some products may have properties, like category, that are null. By default, these null properties are serialized, but using default ignore condition equals JSON ignore condition. When writing null lets you skip them. With this option enabled, any property that has a null value, like category, will be omitted from the JSON output. Next, let's talk about customizing property names. The default behavior preserves C# property names exactly as they are, but you may need different naming conventions, such as camel case for JavaScript compatibility. You can change this by setting property naming policy equals JSON naming policy.camel case. This changes property names like product name to camel case name in the JSON output. For even more control, you can create a custom naming policy. For example, converting all property names to uppercase. With this approach, offering full flexibility over naming conventions. Handling custom data types, like datetime, may require specialized formatting during serialization. By default, datetime values are serialized in a specific format, but you can define custom converters to control the output. Let's say you want to serialize datetime objects into this format. Here's how you can create a custom datetime converter. This converter ensures that all datetime values are serialized in the specified format. Similarly, you can create converters for other complex data types, controlling both the reading and writing of JSON. When deserializing JSON back into C# objects, the default behavior is case-sensitive. This means that property names in the JSON must match exactly with the C# class properties. For example, if the JSON contains lowercase property names like first name, it won't map correctly to a class with Pascal case properties like first name. In this case, the person object would have null values because the JSON keys don't match the C# property names. To fix this, you can enable case-insensitive deserialization. With case-insensitive deserialization enabled, the JSON first name and last name will map correctly to the C# properties first name and last name. Next, let's handle circular references. Consider a scenario where a person object has an address, and that address object has a reference back to the person. This creates a circular reference that could cause infinite loops during serialization. To prevent this, you can use reference handler preserve, which adds $ID and $F properties to the JSON to manage circular references. If you don't need to preserve references and just want to ignore them during serialization, use reference handler.ignore cycles. This will remove cyclic references from the JSON entirely. In this case, the circular reference in the address object would be ignored, and the resident property would appear as null in the JSON. Alternatively, you can manually control serialization by applying the JSON ignore attribute to specific properties that might cause circular references or contain sensitive data you don't want to serialize. This approach gives you fine-grained control over which properties should be excluded from the JSON output. That wraps up our detailed walkthrough of JSON serialization in C#. We've covered how to format your JSON output, ignore null values, customize property names, handle circular references, and more. These powerful features of System.Text.Json give you full control over how your C# objects are serialized and deserialized into JSON. Thanks for following along.